Recording in progress.
I hope you've been enjoying your reading of Romeo and Juliet so far. What has happened? Well, we know there's two warring families. We have the Capulets and the Montagues, and that they've had this ancient grudge. They probably don't even remember what they're fighting about, right? But every time a Capulet sees a Montague, and every time a Montague sees a Capulet, they're just boiling inside. Well, we met Romeo Montague, the son, the teenage son of Lord Montague. And he is falling in love with Rosaline. And Benvolio, his good friend, has tried to give him good counsel and good advice. Let's move on. Look at other beauties. There's other girls, right? But he is stuck on Rosaline, who happens to be a Capulet. But that's neither here nor there here yet at the beginning of the play. Not much strife has come from that. And we know that Capulet is going to throw a party, and that there's this man named Paris who would like to marry Capulet's daughter, Juliet. And her dad wisely said, hey, hold your horses. Let's give it a little bit of time. Why don't you come to my party, check out Juliet and all the other girls, and, just see how it goes. His servant, meanwhile, goes out and has to find all these people to invite to the party, can't read, and Romeo and Benvolio happen to help him with the invitation list, so they know there's a party at the Capulets, and what are they going to do? They're going to crash the party. Benvolio suggests that Romeo finds another girl at this party, right? I mean, probably not the best advice, finding a girl amongst the Capulets, but it is a party. So this is where we find ourselves, Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 3. We have not met Juliet yet. She's not even on Romeo's radar, right? Like he goes to this party in love with Rosaline. Before the party, Juliet is probably getting dressed up, probably getting ready. Everybody she knows is coming over. She's a young teenager. This would be fun and exciting, a party that my parents are throwing. The nurse. So a nurse is somebody who would have probably, who did take care of Juliet as a baby, nursed her as a baby, right? Her mother probably didn't do any of that work. And the nurse is a funny character. She is meant to be somebody that the audience would love right away. She is going to make a lot of jokes, some of them bawdy. She's going to get sidetracked. She's going to say things that are a bit questionable. She's she rambles as she talks. She's just going to keep going and going and going. For example, they're looking for Juliet at the beginning of the scene. And her daughter, or the mother says, my daughter is of a very pretty age. And the nurse is going to say, oh, I know exactly how old she is. She's the same age as my Susan, who died, and I remember that day because there was an earthquake, and oh yeah, I was nursing her, and when she was weaned, blah, 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 blah. I remember when she was running around, she was a little girl, and she was waddling, and one time she fell on her forehead, blah, blah, blah. Right? She's just going to ramble. And both Lady Capulet and when Juliet comes in are going to be like, enough, quiet, please. The audience would love her. She's a funny character. And again, we need comedy in this tragedy, or we will just internally combust because there's so much pain and angst. Okay, so after babbling, the nurse is going to say, thou was the prettiest babe that I ever did nurse. Oh, I might wish to live to see thee to get married. And the mother is going to say, oh, Mary, speaking of marriage, let me see if I can advance the slide here. Speaking of marriage, Paris is going to be the party tonight. And the nurse is going to say, oh, he's just a man of wax. He's so beautiful. It means like he's a perfect statue, right? Like somebody has chiseled him and he is beautiful. Again, this is another AI picture because I couldn't find a great picture of Paris. But the mother is going to compare Paris to a beautiful book. And we're going to look at that together as you read it. It will help to kind of just focus on that and see what the mother is doing. So Lady Capulet, we'll go back just a little bit here. Lady Capulet says Mary, which during Elizabethan times would have been fully understood to mean indeed, right? Indeed. In Mary, that Mary is the very theme I came to talk to you of. What do you think of Paris? She's going to say. What do you think of marrying? And remember, she's only 14 and she says, it is an honor that I've dreamed not of. I haven't dreamt about being married yet, says Juliet. That tells you that she is young and youthful. That her name means youthful and innocent. She's the daughter of Capulet, right? And so she hasn't even dreamt of love yet. And the mother is going to say, well, you better think about it now, because when I was your age, I was married, and younger women than you are mothers. So kind of common, I guess, to be a young bride. The nurse, this line, if you have your book in front of you, line 76, she says, a man, young lady, such a man. Those of you who are really good at remembering rhetorical devices, that one's called antimetabole. She's taking the phrase at the beginning and reverse inverting the order a little bit. So a man, young lady, such a man. And that's just kind of letting us sit in that idea for a minute that this guy he's a man, right? He's good looking. And that is what matters to this nurse. And it is certainly what matters to Lady Capulet. And we can see that because we can look at what she says. So if you will look with me in your book, Lady Capulet says this to Juliet, starting at line, I want to say 79, maybe 80. She says to Juliet, what say you? Can you love the gentleman? What a funny question. I don't know if she's met him. Has she met? I mean, certainly not in the play. So I don't know if there's like any prior history in the story. Like she kind of knows who he is. But the mother says, can you love the gentleman? And so the love that Lady Capulet is talking about is very surface. It's a surface level kind of love. It's based on looks. And we know that because of this kind of sonnet that she says, that she speaks. Remember, sonnet's very popular in this time period. And this sonnet, it's not going to follow the rules of a sonnet. And it's kind of going to have a Dr. Seuss-y flavor to it. If you look at the lines, that she's just putting a lot of different like couplets together. So if you look at what's highlighted there, just end lines, lineament, content, lies, eyes, lover, cover, pride, hide, glory, story. So it's not a great rhyme, if you will. And so it's shallow in a sense, especially the content. So let's take a look at what Lady Capulet says to Juliet. Read over the volume of young Paris's face and find delight written there with beauty's pen. She compares Paris's face to a book. And that metaphor is going to go all the way through what she says. And so then this is an extended metaphor because it's not just one time, but it's going to be over and over and over again. In fact, if you look at all these words in bold, what do all those words have in common? It's all language that points to Paris is a book. And I can't help but think of the phrase that we use today, don't judge a book by its cover. I don't know that that's been around for a super long time, but certainly the idea of appearances is an ancient idea. To not judge by appearances. I know a Roman poet once said not to judge by appearances. And then in the Bible, of course, the Bible speaks of how God looks at man and he doesn't look at the outward appearance, but he sees the heart, right? So you get the idea that what's on the outside may not match what's on the inside. Now, Romeo and Juliet does not go into great detail about who Paris is as a man or if he's a man of character. I tend to think that he is, especially if you look at his conversation with Capulet in the beginning. He does mention that both Capulet and Montague are men of great reputation. So he's being fair, at least. But he's not the main character in this story by any stretch of the imagination. And the focus really here is Lady Capulet. She is zeroing in on the outward appearance. So she says, examine every married lineament. So everything in his face is harmonious. It's married. It's working together. Like his nose isn't sideways and he doesn't have one eye bigger than the other. He doesn't have any of these weird things in his face. Everything's in harmony. See how one another lends content, and what obscured in this fair volume is a book, lies. Examine his face. Look at him. That's what she says. Find written in the margin of his eyes this precious book of love, this unbound cover. That's weird. Like he's unbound. I guess she's saying that he's unmarried, if you will. And to just make him more beautiful than he already is, he just needs a cover. He needs a wife. That would make him even better looking. And then she does this little bit of a side. The fish lives in the sea, and 'tis much pride for fair without the fair within to hide. Right? Like it's, oh, the sea is more beautiful because there's fish living in it. I don't know. That book in many's eyes doth share the glory that in gold clasps locks in the golden story. Sorry, I have to move a box. It's covering the words for me. And I switched the screen. Sorry about that. So shall you share all that he doth possess by having him, making yourself no less. So she says, if you marry Paris, you become his, and you'll get everything he has. Right? So the book and the cover, they're going to work in harmony together to create something beautiful. He's the book, you're the cover. This is just, it's a pretty weak metaphor, really. And why is Shakespeare doing that? I think it's to show us that Lady Capulet is concerned about what a great match Paris would be. He's so beautiful, and together with Juliet, they're just going to be this beautiful couple. This is what AI said Paris looks like. I don't know. I couldn't find a great picture of him, so I went to AI. I haven't searched it too close to see what weird things could pop up, but weird things do pop up with AI pictures. Anyway, here's a beautiful book, right? Medieval and artistic and decorative, and if Paris and Juliet were just together, they would be this beautiful cover. The nurse even agrees with Lady Capulet, and she says, women grow by men, right? Like you'll just be more beautiful if you're married to Paris. And then Juliet says something very interesting about line, I guess, 98, 99, and 100. She says this, I'll look to like, if looking, liking, move. Excuse me for that typo there. I typed this and it's really small. And now that I see it big, it says looking, linking, move, and that's not correct. Trust your book. Your book says, I'll look to like, if looking, liking, move, but no more deep will I and dart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly. Okay, this is poetry. Remember? It's not how people talked in Elizabethan England. So you have to kind of parse out the poetry. What is she saying? I'll look at Paris, see if I like him. If looking, liking, move, if I look at him and I like him, right? But I won't go further than that. No more deep will I indart my eye. So indart would mean shoot a glance like a dart, I guess is what my book says. Then your consent gives strength to make it fly. So she's responding like a dutiful daughter. She says, I will look, but I won't go any further than that until, your consent, Mom, gives it the strength to go further than that, to fly. So there is a sense that Juliet here is listening to advice, following her mom, being dutiful. Why don't we wait and see how fast she changes her mind on this when she meets the son of her enemy, Romeo. So read over Act 1, Scene 3. Again, like I said, the nurse, some of her language is going to be a bit confusing and even a little bit bawdy at times. I wouldn't park there, just kind of try to get the overall picture, the big picture of what is going on in the whole scheme of this story. Juliet is being advised to check out Paris, and potentially consider him as a husband. Because what a man, what a man, what a man, says the nurse. All right, God bless. Enjoy your reading of Act 1, Scene 3.